Oh, I was running here. Sorry, I'm still catching my breath. I have a few disclaimers. So one is that this presentation has been prepared without any use of any AI tools whatsoever. So it's 100% human-made content, so it's pretty cool, I think. Another disclaimer is I know we're televised, there is a live stream, we're shooting it. I don't want this presentation to be used by any AI tools and analyzed by them. That's just the thing that I say before any presentation that I give. My apologies. So yeah, my name is Max. Been in crypto for a number of years now. And I don't know, somehow increasingly I've become more and more frustrated because I want crypto to be a little bit further ahead, not in terms of the price, right? But in terms of adoption, in terms of I want my parents, maybe my friends to start using crypto for fun and profit, but they still don't do that. What's happening? And over the course of the years, and again, I've been in crypto since 2017-ish, I sort of collected a number of stories and have some ideas about what may be happening. I see some problems that are happening within the crypto space, and that's what I would like to share with you today. But first, sippy sip. My wife says that, she'll love it. Anyway, so why are we not further along? I see this problem, and I work on a project where we absolutely require normal people to have crypto wallets to be able to operate with crypto. And again and again and again, they don't, right? I have a good friend of mine who I taught about crypto. We registered his first crypto wallet a number of years ago, several years ago, and I visited him recently. He's a managing director of a big hotel in Switzerland. And what I saw in his office is his seed phrase pinned to the wall of his office. So I'm like, okay, we're doing something wrong here. What is happening? And so I see this problem as this. You go to a person on the street and you tell them, hey, register a crypto wallet, have a crypto wallet. It's amazing, right? And so you have two problems right away. First of all, it's so stressful to operate one, right? Again, management of your seed phrase, sending transactions, you have to verify everything a number of times. But let's imagine, and a friend of mine who just walked in, he's saying that, hey, we're getting there. The UX is getting there. It's going to be there very, very soon. What time is it? But the second problem, let's say you give that person a crypto wallet, it works amazingly, it's a no hassle. Why would they do that? Why would they register a crypto wallet? Because the only use case that we see today that's working quite well is pretty much gambling. Hey, buy Bitcoin and then wait for the price to go up, or maybe go down. Ether, same. I look at the, anyway. So the only use case is gambling, and DeFi is sort of like in the same realm, kind of, maybe not really. And so today I wanted to talk to you about the 5 obstructions to crypto mass adoption, right? What is happening? I think I was so inspired, when we were starting working on our project, when I got into crypto, about this sort of selfless vision of Satoshi Nakamoto, who just gave us this thing, right, Bitcoin, and completely disappeared. It was amazing on so many levels, right? Of course, we don't have our expectations attached to, a person who may say something online or may not. But yeah, it's the selflessness of this act that was so inspirational to me. And when we were starting our project, we did the crowdfunding. And again, it was so great because now we are detaching from the investors in Silicon Valley, from VCs, I thought, and we no longer are in their realm of control, right? Because, I mean, what's happening really is that the money controls your project when you take a VC funding, right? So, of course, you're familiar with the concept of fiduciary duty, that if you take money from VCs, if someone else is investing, then you are obligated legally to operate in such a way as to increase their ROI. And that's it. And if you don't do that, you may be going to go to jail, right? And so the first obstruction, I think, is the greed that oftentimes is attached to decentralized projects that then take VC money, right? Which is it doesn't make any sense, right? Does Bitcoin have VC money? No. Does Ethereum have VC money? No. And there was a number of projects, of course, before that we use today, projects, like the personal computer, or just the idea of a computer, that they tried to patent and they couldn't. The World Wide Web is in public domain. Like, we're enjoying all the tech that we're using today because all this chain of technologies up until today doesn't have this attachment of greed, doesn't have this expectation of profit at the end of the day, right? And so it's a little bit laughable when I see a decentralized project that claims that they're decentralized at the same time they have VC money. And so another problem here that many of you crypto anarchists are familiar with is the fact that today, and that's been happening for decades now, since 1970s, that return on investment basically makes you more money than return on labor. So you're much better off not doing anything but just having a bunch of money than doing an honest man's work, right? You can look it up, and there are economical studies from McKinsey I saw recently, 2022, I think, where they analyze that, this sort of economical disparity. There is a paradox here, right? The paradox is that our whole capitalistic economy is set up in such a way that we're optimizing for one single variable. And in my previous talk in Prague, at ETH Prague, I was talking about how it may be a type of AI that we programmed already incorrectly, right? Where we're optimizing everything not to make paper clips, if you're familiar with the concept of paperclip maximizer, but with money maximizer. And so that strong AI takes everything around you, all sorts of different resources, including humans, and converts everything to a number in a database. And I simply call that behavior, like you look at how animals behave in the nature, right? They have their algorithms, they have their programs, they fight for territory, they fight for domination, they fight for resources in order to survive. We no longer have to do that, right? And so I sort of, the fights that we see today between different companies, it's kind of like, as humans, we could behave in a humane way, but we decide sort of to let the greed run the show. I call this super animalistic, right? Like using all the human powers, all the human resources and ingenuity, we're still behaving like animals, just fighting for resources that, as they say, you make money to buy things that you don't need to impress people that you don't like. Anyway, second obstruction is a lot of the stuff. My friend is speaking in Singapore today, I guess. And I was just looking at the list of speakers there as well. And the titles of the names of those projects: WorldCoin, the Tools for Humanity, it's like, I'm gonna save the planet, that says on everyone's face over there. And so the second abstraction is narcissism. And I think, in a lot of cases, and in a lot of people, and I have the same problem as well sometimes, that we're like, no, I'm smarter than that other guy, and so therefore I'm going to build a better and bigger version of whatever they're doing or whatever, right? And that prevents us from working together, from collaboration. And again, that's the name of the game. It's open source. Bitcoin is completely open. We have to work together in order to run it. Ethereum the same, right? And I think this kind of attitude prevents us from working together and from creating really great things. Elephant in the room, right? So my project is in the travel space, which is completely dominated by a few large corporations, really a handful. And they will fight us tooth and nail not to make the decentralized anything happen. So we talk about, I don't know, what is interesting, what is hot today. There's self-sovereign identity, you know. Again, another friend of mine, acquaintance, I guess, working on identity project. Supposed to be completely decentralized and completely everything, but no, Microsoft comes at the end of the day and they say, hey, no, we gotta do it. And of course, all the other companies, all the other governments, who are they going to trust? Some rando off the street or Microsoft, who is going to provide them with sort of self-sovereign identity service, which, you know, with a ton of strings attached. Like, I don't believe in that at all, that Microsoft is going to give you your unique self-sovereign identity at all. And the governments, why would they allow for money that they cannot track, for identity that they don't control, for any type of solution that prevents them from tracking you and from really acting as a corporation? Because at the end of the day, again, they have to act like that. They have to make money. They have to make a profit, right? So that's the third obstruction. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to just run through it, right? So fourth obstruction is the ridiculousness of Web 2.5. It just doesn't work. Right? If you want to do something that's truly decentralized, and we say, okay, let's compromise on this one part right now, and by the way, we're going to raise money for that tiny part that's compromised, it just simply doesn't work. There is no motivation after to change things up at all. Don't do Web 2.5, please. And 5, and I guess that's related to narcissism, is we want to save the world somehow, and recently another good friend of mine recommended me this book, Seeing Like a State by James C. Scott. He's a professor of agricultural studies at Harvard. Read that book. Don't try to save the world. And if you remember that book, The Sovereign Individual, which was supposed to be, I guess it was for a while, the Bible for Bitcoin blockchain community, it says the sovereign individual. So maybe, just maybe, and I don't know, maybe you will tell me later that blockchain was never meant to be, was never meant to be adopted en masse, right? It's a tool for individual liberation. Use it today for your fun and profit. It's hard. The mass adoption is hard. And, well, you know, so 5 problems. I have a few ideas, 5 antidotes to those problems. So, and I would like to spark a discussion. Maybe you can ask questions a little bit, well, right now, in about a minute, or grab me later, and we can talk about these things, right? First problem, if you remember, was greed, and there is this amazing thing from the Eastern philosophy that's called the law of karma, right? I don't know how familiar all of you are, but basically, you're not supposed to make new karma. Actually, your goal to achieve enlightenment is to shed all of the karma, to get rid of all the karma, and that's how you achieve enlightenment. Karma literally means doing. So you do things all the time, therefore you create new karma, never going to get there. How do you do things that do not create new karma? You don't have any expectation about the result. Don't have an expectation of monetary result, any type of result. Do things that you otherwise cannot not do. Just do them because you have energy, because you have the ability to do them. Don't expect things, right? The moment you attach an expectation, karma. So that's one. I was reading up a little bit of psychology literature on how to deal with narcissism. Well, they say self-love and self-compassion, right? Because narcissism comes from, I guess, you not loving yourself enough. You are just fine, just as you are. You don't have to achieve great things to be loved. Just saying. The third, the corporations and government. Well, you know, a picture comes to mind from The Matrix, the movie, where Neo is in that pod and all sorts of cables are attached to it. And I'm thinking about my phone in the same way. So every app is that cable that goes right into my brain and controls all sorts of chemicals in my brain, the dopamine, all sorts of hormones and stuff, right? So just give you that picture. Think about what you want to do with it. Fourth problem was Web 2.5. Just don't do Web 2.5. Just do Web 3. And the fifth problem is save the world. And one of my favorite philosophers, really, of all time, his name is George Carlin. If you're familiar, you would know. George Carlin, Saving the Planet. It's on YouTube. Look it up. So he says, how arrogant do you have to be to say that you're going to save the planet? No, you cannot even save yourself, and you're trying to save the planet? Just be humble. Be kind, and do what you can without any expectation. So that's it. Questions, guys? Thank you.
Thank you, Maksim. Does anyone have any questions? We have about 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I would like to know why we always look at Satoshi as one person, individual, and we don't maybe he's entity, he's a company,
yeah,
or a group, and also we don't speak at all about how greedy to mine about 1 million Bitcoin estimated. So why don't we also look from this perspective? Thank you.
But what's the question?
So, yeah. So this is like a philosophical point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to know your take on this, since you talk a lot about the adoption and not to be greedy, while I see like the Bitcoin creator, whether it's a company or a person, was so much or too much greedy. So
was he? How so? I don't know.
Yeah,
Teach me. Elucidate me.
Okay. The estimation tell that there is one address that mined Bitcoin up to 1.1 million.
Yeah.
Okay, which is most likely done by Satoshi Nakamoto, whether a group or a person. So this is very, I see, a greedy step to be taken.
That's an interesting take, because if he ever takes that money, it will, I mean, what can happen to Bitcoin? I don't think anything good is going to happen, and therefore the value of that Bitcoin is also going to drop, and everyone sort of will see. I think it's going to stay there. You know, if that topples, everything is lost, guys. Go home. More questions?
Unfortunately, we don't have more time for questions.
All right.
But thank you so much, Maksim, for the
I'll
great presentation.
Thank you, guys.
Please, a round of applause.